Good evening, everybody. Okay, so I hope the midterm went pretty good for everybody. I think we've done about evaluated half the papers. They look very promising. So now we're going to move on to the next phase from customer discovery, where the whole goal was to try and see if the PMC that you had for your respective projects, whether that makes sense, and then moving on to something called customer validation. So we're going to do a few things that in the next few weeks. And the primary thing that you'll be doing on your project is validating your PMC, your business model canvas, with actual conversations with potential customers. So we want you to go ahead and talk to as many people as you can about your idea and what you think your company is going to do and what value it's going to bring to their lives and so on. And then we'd like you to actually document what they actually, how the interaction actually went. We would like you to actually take a video with a smartphone, make some notes, so that you actually document exactly how the conversation went. There's going to be a lot of benefit in having that kind of raw data, because the team will not have access to exactly what you heard. And what you find is that by watching those smart tapes or those videos on your smartphone, etc., the team can really understand exactly what was going on in that particular interaction. So customer discovery is a very important step, and I would be surprised if a lot of you are going to find that a lot of assumptions that you had as to what the customer needs were, what your value proposition was, how you were going to build your product, they are going to be radically impacted by, actually talking to real customers, right? So, but that's all a part of the learning process. The idea is to learn from real customers or potentially real customers as to, whether what you want to do makes sense or not. And I'll go, I think I've gone through quite a few examples between myself as well as some of the entrepreneurs that came here, that it almost took maybe 3 months, 6 months, even 2 years or more to actually find the real need that your technology and your product would actually solve in the marketplace, and solve it in a way that you can make some money from it, build a real company from it. So, we are obviously going to try and compress this whole process for you folks into a few weeks, but the idea is to give you some hands-on feel for what this customer discovery is. Then we'll move on to, so today we're going to move on to the next phase, which is customer validation. So I would like to have all of you read up 2 videos that for the next class on Friday, because we're going to have a very, very interesting entrepreneur go through his experiences, and the person who we're going to get on the phone, he lives in the US, is in Silicon Valley. His name is Carl Mehta, and here he's giving a talk at TEDx. And Carl Mehta is interesting because over the last 16 years, he's always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So about 8 or 9 years after working, he starts his first company, and then he runs into what is called, into some major changes in the marketplace, basically the dot-com bust, and basically his company dies after about 4 or 5 years of work. Then he's a passionate entrepreneur, so he starts a second company. And then we have the 2008 bust, so he loses his company again. And most of us would be disheartened by that. But he's still looking for a good idea. He believes in entrepreneurship and looking for good ideas, and he finds his son, who's a 12-year-old, who says that he would like to build a company. Actually, it's interesting how it happened. I was giving a talk to about 3,000 people at the Thai conference, annual conference. There were 3,000 people there in Silicon Valley. And I was giving the talk, and over the last 20 years, the age of entrepreneurship has been coming down. So, suddenly Mark Zuckerberg and others were becoming the new entrepreneurs in town, and they were like, barely 21, 22, 23 years old. So I called out in the audience and said out of the 3,000 people, I said, who's the youngest entrepreneur in this entire 3,000 person audience in Silicon Valley? And I was expecting some college kid, 20, 18-year-old person to stand up and say, and suddenly the small kid, 12-year-old kid, lifts his hand up and says, I'm going to start a company. And so I said, let's get the mic to him. And I was expecting him to be shy and so on, but very confidently he said that I'm going to start a company in gaming software. He says that I'm really good at playing a game called World of Warcraft. And I have reached level 70, 72, which is very difficult, and some of you should know about it. And there are so many other gamers who are stuck at level 8, 9, 10. They just can't get past, so they cannot enjoy all the nice things that these games have once you become a good player. So he says that, I sell to all these gamers who cannot play and get past level 8, 9, 10. I sell them a sword, or I sell them a life, or I sell them some gold coins or whatever, which helps them move on and play games at higher levels. So I think there is an opportunity for good gamers to sell some of their weapons and their lives to other gamers. And this is a worldwide market. So he said, I'm going to start a company so that I can sell and other people can sell all of this stuff. I said, okay, 12-year-old kid, right? So that's fantastic. And I really did not expect anything to happen from that, right? But his dad was sitting next to him and said, Dad, can I join your company? So his dad, Mal Mehta, he's had 2 failures back to back. He says, okay, so they start the company called PlaySpan, and this guy, the dad obviously kind of raised some money, etc., and got the company going. And 4 years later, in 2012, he sold his company, PlaySpan, to Visa for $225 million in cash. And so Carl is going to talk about, we're going to have Carl actually interact with all of you. And Carl is an amazingly optimistic entrepreneur who actually takes his learning from the first failure to the second failure to the third success, and now he's off again. And he bought a company started by a bunch of IIT Bombay students who were operating just outside IIT Bombay called Course Master. And that's the product that you guys are using right now. And then he licensed some more stuff from EdCast, and now it's rebranded as EdCast. And so that's the product which is a very early stage that we are all using. I'm a kind of beta customer for it. But already he's got many universities that he has tracked down to that he's got using his product. He's raised his first round of funding. So I want all of you all to watch two videos which are there on the system for this week. So this is the first video, and if you go to this tab, you'll see that there's another URL, and this URL will take you actually to a talk that a session that he gave about 2 months ago or 3 months ago at Silicon Valley, where I was teaching the same course. And so, if you all can actually look and study all the videos, both of the videos, you pretty much get the whole gist of the story. And so we can quickly move to where you can ask questions directly to Carl Mehta. So what we would like to do is the following, which is have each of you come up with a question that you would like to ask this entrepreneur, and go ahead and post it on the wiki. So on the wiki, one of you can create, Carl Mehta questions kind of thing, and just start entering your questions into that. And then once we get Carl Mehta online through Google Hangout, we'll have each of you come, each or as many as we can, essentially come and ask the question that you have, and get Carl Mehta to actually, give you his answers to this thing. And what you're going to see from Carl Mehta's case is that, the reason why PlaySpan became successful was that even though the first idea that his son had to basically go ahead and sell weapons to help novice players enjoy the game more, that core idea was good, but when he actually developed the app to do the transactions and then created B2C kind of application, he found that very difficult to build a company, because there are people in 170 countries, in 170 languages, time zones, currencies, etc., trying to make these transactions. So to get all of these people to, take care of the currency issues, the language issues, and all the issues, essentially found that it was just not getting the exponential ramp that a business like this needs. So, he had to do what we call a pivot. And so the pivot that he did was that he said, what is the problem that I'm facing? So he took all the information about why what he thought was a good problem to solve was not succeeding in the marketplace. It solved it, people liked it, but the business was not taking off. And this is a very common phenomenon that happens to a lot of businesses. At that point, an inexperienced entrepreneur would either give up, or he would go ahead and keep trying to make it better, faster, etc. What an experienced entrepreneur will do is evaluate all the data, think about it, and then make a pivot. So the pivot that he made was he realized that the company that makes the World of Warcraft, that probably 100 million people play all over the world, all the time, and in 170 countries, that company has already solved the problem of how to get people from all these different languages and currencies and all that to play the game. So he said that, why don't I take my transaction platform and integrate it into the gaming company's product, game. So he went to World of Warcraft and convinced them that this is a nice feature for their game. Ability for novice people to actually buy something. And he he probably gave them a piece of the action, but he integrated his transaction platform into the World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and all the top Madden football, all the top 8 or 10 games. And once he did that, his business exploded. So the need was there, but how the need was solved needed to be handled properly. And by integrating it in, these people have already handled a credit card, have already done ready for microtransactions. Boom, boom, boom. The microtransactions happen basically as a part of the game, where you can buy your weapon right on the spot, and actually the engine that's driving the transaction is placement. And obviously, when Visa saw that gamers and microtransaction is a very big exploding market segment, and it's not going away. It's just going to get bigger. And then that same technology can be applied to other microtransactions. And they realized that they were right now 3 to 4 years behind Placeman, and the company that makes Call of Duty, etc., is not going to integrate a Visa microtransaction engine now that they already have it. So, and they're not going to come up with another game that will swap out Call of Duty and so on. So essentially, MasterCard, Visa, and other financial transaction companies all started competing to buy Placeman. So pretty much you could have sold out to anybody, and he ended up selling it to Placeman, selling it to Visa. Anyway, so phenomenal entrepreneur. I think you're going to get great insights if you ask great questions. And here is your opportunity to ask the questions that will really help you in your entrepreneurial journey. So go ahead and fill the wiki with the questions, and then let's go ahead and set up the session. Okay, so we've done customer discovery. Let's assume that you have it, and you feel pretty comfortable that you know who the customer is, the value proposition is working, etc. And as we saw in Karmika's case, the value proposition that gamers would like to buy weapons for $1 or 10 rupees or 50 rupees or whatever, that's a valid customer discovery. So that customer discovery you feel good about. Now the question is, what about the company? You're going to create a company to solve that particular need. So how do you go about it? So the first thing you do is so how do you go about, once you've got your discovery and once you've figured out that it's basically the right stuff, how do you figure out how to build this company? Because ultimately, it's the company that allows you to create a business, right? Which will, generate jobs, make profits, and solve problems on a big scale. So basically, you go through 4 steps in order to validate. The first step is getting ready to sell. So you're going to find real customers, not just that a potential customer, a real customer, solid customer in the market segment that you're looking at, and you're going to prepare a complete sales and marketing package to go ahead and do that. And I'll give you some ideas to what that includes. Then you don't send your sales guy to go ahead and do that, or your marketing guy to go ahead and do that. You as the entrepreneur has to go out and meet this guy, and I'll tell you why. And after that, you'll get a lot of feedback, because now you're not just gone in with your BMC, but you've gone in with real marketing materials about why should actually buy the product. And you might even be ready to take the order from one of the customers for a certain price, right? So once you do that, you'll get enough information and you'll see that sometimes the customers say that, look, I'm not going to pay you this much license fee. But if you go ahead and have a SaaS model where I have to pay on a monthly usage basis, I'm willing to do that. So that's the kind of feedback you get, which tells you that maybe the license model is not going to work, and SaaS model, software as a service, which is the monthly rental business, that is what's going to work, right? So, and you can see that if you had built your company on a license model, and if none of the customers were willing to make the initial license payment and were only willing to pay on a monthly basis, your company would have died, would have failed. Let's talk of, let's see. Are you guys familiar with something called CRMs, Customer Relationship Management? So there's a company called Siebel, right, which was the leader in, customer relationship management for selling software products and or any product. And a new company came along called Salesforce.com, which came up with this SaaS model where you don't have to pay the license fee, but you just pay the monthly 100 rupees per salesman that you have for the CRM system. And just changing the business model has resulted in Salesforce.com is basically becoming the largest CRM company, and Siebel has pretty much disappeared. So the feedback you get when you actually meet real customers and try to validate will actually change your business model from SaaS to license or from selling one way to the other way. Now when that happens, guess what? Everything changes. So when you're selling SaaS model, you need to have a lot of money in the bank to develop your product and to service a lot of customers, but because you will be getting paid only $100 per customer per month. You get lots of customers, but very little money. And accumulated over 2-3 years, it becomes a lot of money. License model, you'll get small number of customers, but $1 million per customer, or $100,000 per customer. So all of a sudden, it's a totally different financing model that you're going to have. It's a totally different, how do you get a sale? If you're going license model, you can afford direct sales guys. Because if you get $100,000 from the customer, you can afford to pay the sales guy his salaries, etc. If you're getting $100 per customer, you cannot afford a direct sales guy. You've got to think of a new way, or a different way of organizing the sales team. So your sales team changes, your marketing changes, your financing changes, and the technology might be the same, the product might be the same, but your complete company's characteristic change. Question?
When is this supposed to be done? Before or after the development of the product?
So basically, you do this after you've got something called MVP, minimum viable product, so that you can actually sign up 1 or 2 early customers to use your product. And you get them to sign up, because at that time, early customers, you may not even charge them money, so they're willing to sign up. But then when you meet their business people, who will decide whether to pay you the money, how they want to pay you the money, all those issues start coming up. At that point, you will say, oh my God, I thought I was going to get 100,000 license money next month, and these guys only want to pay me $200 a month, but over 10 years, right? And if you find that every customer is like that, you better go back to your investors and to your company and say, guess what? We are changing a model from license model to SaaS model.
I think just what is the fastest growing company in India right now? The biggest startup, fastest growing? the Flipkart, how it gets the customer. If you see the Amazon's, which is the US company, it gets entire revenue through transaction on credit card. But in India, there is very small number of people who are actually having credit cards. So the biggest change that Flipkart made and got its success was the COD. What is COD? Yeah, so for the first time introduced a new model of delivery and payment where the transaction was actually pay cash to the courier boy and not to have credit card, because the millions and millions of people are buying in the small cities have a credit card. So that's the way you discover the process, you find out what the customer, even if it requires the books or other articles, how it can really make the payment.
Yeah, so a lot of companies you find that a lot of companies come out of nowhere because they got a specific insight and then they executed on that insight. And then they just completely change how companies can succeed in the marketplace. So you go out and develop your positioning based on the feedback from customers that you actually made your sale to, right? And then you go back and you create something called a war room. You put all your data together and then you say, Mr. Venture Capitalist, I thought I was going to be a licensed company and I could have built this company for $10 million. Now I'm going to be a SaaS company and I'm going to need $100 million over 2 years. So, and these are the reasons why it's going to work. And so you re-justify the whole thing and you change your whole model, you change everything, but you change it based on facts, real facts from real customers. Okay, so let's now dig in a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so you're getting ready to sell. So all you've done is you've created a little prototype, or you've created a PowerPoint presentation, or you've got some case studies and their data. Depending on the product, you'll have done different things. So basically, the first thing you do is product positioning. So you know what your product can do. But you think the customer knows what your product can do? So basically, you've got to position it in the customer's mind. So if you remember, a lot of you came here and talked about your company ideas. And I can tell you that I probably did not understand more than 10 out of the 80 people that came as to what they were planning to do. Did anybody understand more than 10 people's product ideas when they explained it? Probably not. And the reason is that, we did not give you an opportunity to do something called product positioning. So product positioning allows you to go ahead and tell what your product will do for the customer in the first 20 seconds or 30 seconds. In the first 30 seconds, you've got to be able to tell the customer, Mr. Customer, you have 10 software engineers and I can make them 20% more efficient by utilizing this analytics software or something like that. So, you have defined for the customer what space the problem you're solving in, right? And so he understands, okay, so you're talking about how to increase the efficiency of management. You're not talking about how to reduce the cost of the product, how to make it easier for me to sell the product, or how to sort of buy something else. So you've done product positioning for the customer. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is you prepare your sales and marketing material. So these are brochures, PowerPoint presentations, white papers,